a podcast for weirdos and those who want to be weirder. Embrace the strange. New episodes every Saturday, live streaming Fridays. Loving the strange. Check us out. Hey, it's Loving the Strange. Having some technical difficulties as we begin, because why not?
Why not?
Hey, so welcome to Loving the Strange, an occasionally drunk dive into the weird things and people that we love. And this is episode 10, called Urban Legends, Negative Entities. Sean titled it. And there should probably be a content warning because some urban legends are scary things.
Ooh.
Some. But first we wanted to give a shout out to our patrons who help support the podcast via supporting me over on Patreon. And that's Autumn and Claire and Jen and Pam and Joan and Nancy and Tony and Shay, Rachel and Sam. You all rock.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know. I agree.
They rock so hard. You can support us too if you ever feel like it. But
Who, me?
Yeah, man.
I did.
How did you support us?
I was a patron.
For a little while, Sean was my patron on Patreon for $3 a month. But then he realized that
No,
with
it was
taxes,
$5 a month.
Oh,
But we're actually losing money if I do that. So
yeah. But that's not what this episode's about. It's not about us losing money because Sean's trying to be so supportive and adorable.
Right.
No. This podcast with me, Carrie Jones, and who's that lovely man, bearded man next to me? That's you, hon. Introduce yourself, hon.
Sean Farrar. I'm not next to you at all.
Oh man. And the video screen you're next to us. And this time, this podcast, which is very obviously tonight live, I have to tell you that I'm a little off because I got the vaccine for COVID yesterday and it didn't go well inside my body. I'm still flushed from it and it was bad. I sobbed for my mother in the middle of the night.
Did you really?
Yeah. And I had like whole body racking chills where I like was convulsing with.
I can attest to that. Yes.
Yeah. And also, in the middle of the night, after I sobbed for my mother, I had this really like lucid dream. It was so vivid of my mother going, "Remember 304, remember 304." And so when I woke up, I'm like, "What is 304?" And I'm still like feverish and stuff, and it means hoe. So I don't.
West Virginia's
area code. So I'm really nervous about my mom spirit was trying to tell me last night. But hi, D. Harris. Now let's get on with the podcast.
Let's get on with it, baby.
All right. So I feel like we should start with the Devil Monkeys of Danville, New Hampshire, and a shout out to my birth state of weirdness. The Devil Monkeys of Danville, New Hampshire has turned into an urban legend. But like many an urban legend, it started off with a little bit of facts, right? And the background on this is in 2001, this woman, Sheila Lemieux, her kid comes into her house and he's like, "I need more cookies, mommy." And she's like, "What, babe? You cannot keep having peanut butter cookies." And she's like, "I'm giving them to my friends." And she's like, "Who are your friends?" And she just figures they're imaginary friends. And he would take these peanut butter cookies and bring them up to his treehouse, right? And then they disappear and he'd just keep leaving them there, right? And we would think squirrels, right? Because we're from Maine. But they started hearing these weird noises in the woods at night, like howling and shrieks all around the house, right?
Yeah.
And then they saw a monkey.
No.
Yes, according to the newspaper.
In New Hampshire?
In New Hampshire, in Danville, New Hampshire. She said that she was passing it off as her 6-year-old son Jacob's like overactive imagination, as all annoying parents do. But she then saw the monkey, which she describes as an 8-foot tall Humboldt's woolly monkey.
It was Bigfoot.
There are no 8-foot tall monkeys out there. So but that's in the actual news article. So that bothers me. And it's a real news article from a real newspaper, right? And so then all these other people in town started hearing it. Like there's this one woman, Jen, who was quoted as saying, it was like a loud screeching, piercing noise. And her husband went outside to investigate. And my favorite quote in this whole article is what Jen Valeka said, which was, it was a noise that didn't belong in my woods. And then her husband caught a glimpse of the monkey as it darted away, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody's just like, okay, there's got to be somebody lost their illegal monkey or something. And so they started to like try to capture it, like by putting bananas and oranges in the trees. And like the law enforcement's like, we will not like put you in jail if you come forward about your monkey. We just want the monkey to be okay because it's going to get cold, right? But they couldn't catch the monkey. And so then they brought in like a guy from the Massachusetts Humane Society, and he tried to coax the monkey with female monkey urine and a remote control net. That didn't happen, right? But then it started hanging around a mobile home park on the Danville Kingston town line. And then
there's more junk food there.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But then the fire chief saw it. Right?
Was it just one monkey?
I think so. The fire chief was like driving down the road, and the newspaper article says, quote, the beast jumped in front of his truck. And then he's quoted as saying, it jumped out of the trees. As soon as he hit the ground, he took a giant leap and went back where he came from. The first thought I had was, that's nothing that's native to here. And so then the fire chief went to the library for 3 hours trying to figure out what it was. Like, and the library director helped him. And he's the one who decided that it was a Brazilian Humboldt's woolly monkey, which later on in the article says can grow to be 4 feet tall and weigh up to 40 pounds. But in my internet research, it doesn't get to be that big either.
Well, why is it a demon or a devil or whatever they call it?
Well, that's how it becomes an urban legend. So the monkey just disappears, right?
Yeah.
And then in like 11 years later, I think in 2012, this woman's visiting her parents in Danville, right?
Yeah.
And the dogs are barking in the backyard, and she's like, oh, it must be a deer. And she looks outside because, hey, I'm on vacation with my parents and I want to see a deer. And she sees a monkey climbing a tree.
Really?
Yes, but she said it was 2 feet long with a white bottom and in dark brown over the rest of its body, right?
Yeah.
And so how did this monkey survive 11 years, if it's the same monkey, in Danville, New Hampshire, which we all know gets really cold?
Yeah.
So that caused a resurgence in the monkey, right?
Yeah.
In the interest. And so then it became an urban legend because this monkey, there's a history of devil monkeys in the United States.
Uh-huh.
And these monkeys are like, they look like dog monkey crosses, kind of. And they have sharp claws. And the first sighting, stop laughing. The first sighting, official sighting, was in Tennessee in 1934. But then the reason why they're so horrible is because in 1959, this Boyd family with their daughter Pauline in the back of their car, right? They're driving and they're near Saltville, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what the area code is there. But whatever. And they're driving and they and all of a sudden this animal comes out of the woods chasing their car and attacking it. And it's this weird devil monkey, allegedly, right? And they're like, ah! And everybody's like, okay. But there's like gouges in their car, allegedly. And then the next week, like a few days later, these ladies are driving in their hot-to-trot Corvette. And the monkey comes out of the woods again and attacks their car again and rips the Corvette top off.
Really?
And they scream and freak out, and the monkey runs away. But it's a
little
devil
monkeys,
monkey.
Huh?
Yeah, and that's the difference.
Because there's devil monkey.
That's right. They're devil monkeys. And so now New Hampshire's little monkey has turned, because they never caught it and never found its dead carcass, and then shows up 12 years later, is now considered a devil monkey and an urban legend.
Huh. Anyways.
Why do legends have to be urban? Doug Marshall asks. I don't know, Sean. Why don't you tell us?
That's just the title for this. Urban legends actually have a definition.
Yeah, but why isn't it rural legends, man?
Oh, there's a ton of rural legends. Number one would be Bigfoot. Right?
No, it's real.
Chupacabra.
I can't say that word.
Which is actually an urban legend, but it would technically be a rural legend because it drinks the blood of goats by definition. Its name means goat sucker. So not many urban goats around.
Poor goats. Poor goats. Like, I think part of it, Sean's off reading the comment and forgetting that the podcast is live. But part of this is
I'm not.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, you liar. So part of it, Doug, I think is that, like, I don't know why there's a bias against rural places, probably. But the other thing is that because a lot of them happen in rural places, just like Sean said.
I'm going to say right now, my bias is that the coolest ones happen in rural places, actually.
Well, that's because we are in a rural place. But they're basically like contemporary folklore, you know, and there's like a reason that people want to listen and enjoy these stories. Like our brain, according to the British Journal of Psychiatry or Psychology, I can't remember, people remember these stories especially and pass them on when there's a threat to your survival, which is why the monkey is now a devil monkey, because we want to hear about the devil monkey versus just the regular old monkey. And when there's a social relationship going on, like I'm going to remember the devil monkey of Danville's story because the mom didn't believe the poor little kid who was leaving peanut butter cookies in his treehouse, you know?
It has nothing to do with you being from New Hampshire.
That's not what I mean, honey.
I
mean that, like, if you have a relationship in the story, in that urban legend, you're more likely to remember it. And if that urban legend is like Bigfoot being mean to you, or a family meets Bigfoot, you're more likely to remember those specific Bigfoot stories, which is really interesting because our brains want us to survive, so we remember those stories, and our brains want us to have relationships, so we remember those stories.
Psychologically, it's very interesting, actually.
Yes, and let's take a tiny moment to read John Bell's comment in our live podcast, which is, John Bell in the house. I remember Sean used to crack on me because I told him I saw Bigfoot while hunting when I was 13 years old. It was actually a bear walking on its hind legs. I didn't know they could do that before the internet and YouTube. It was also 6 a.m. and foggy and about 100 yards away. Not miles, yards. John Bell, that's cool, though.
Yeah, it is.
I would love to see a bear walking like that.
I know. We've seen bears, but never on its hind legs, right?
Yeah, and Sean, you need to be nicer to your friends, honey.
If he was 13, I was 14. What are you talking about?
That's a nice 14-year-old.
You're exceptional. You have always been exceptional.
Oh, that's right. Baby. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
tell us more about urban legends, Shawnee.
Well, my favorite, because it's one I heard when I was a kid, and I think my uncles, who would have been late teenagers at the time, so they loved to terrorize me, told me. And it turns out that's a very popular one. And generically, it's called the hook.
Oh, gosh, that sounds terrible.
But I have two reasons that it's my favorite. And one is old and one is new. My old reason is that I actually was told it and heard it, and I've always remembered it. Yeah. The second reason is because it was started supposedly in the 1950s, and the context is like so obvious.
Yeah.
It has a real like parental undertone. So the story is there's many versions, okay? The one I was told was that two people, boy and girl, high school kids, were in a car and they went out into a sort of, a desolate road or whatever. They were parked and they were making out or whatever.
That's why you like the story.
No.
I think it is. And they were making out. We know it.
And they were sitting in the car, and all of a sudden they heard this semi-rhythmic noise on the roof of the car. And
not coming from within the car.
No, outside.
Okay.
And then one of them gets out, and they and they look up, and there's like a body hanging from the tree above the car, dripping blood onto the roof.
I think that became a supernatural episode.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Other versions are that the two kids are in the car and they're listening to the radio, hanging out, and they hear an insane mass murderer with a hook for a hand has just escaped a mental institution in the area. And they hear a weird noise and they get out of the car, and the guy has embedded his hook in the side of the door. He's not there, just the hook.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really enjoy about it, now that I'm older, is that it was obviously a thing that people told their kids to keep them from going to make out and having sex on the side of the road in the woods when they were teenagers.
Well, yeah.
I find that hilarious. But the fact of the matter is, most everybody does that, and it's really a scary thing to think about when you're sitting in your car and it's dark out and you're just with another person, and you probably have like the radio's on or whatever, so it's giving a little internal illumination, and you can't see crap through the windows now, just from that little bit of light. So any noise you hear once you've heard this story equates to, holy crap, we're about to die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of urban legends, in my opinion.
So why do you think that was your favorite one?
I just told you.
I don't
Because
really
it's the one I was told, the one I relate to the most.
Because you made out in cars?
No.
Or because your uncles told you? And
they were trying to scare me,
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard them all. Almost everyone on the list I've heard.
Well, you hadn't heard of my favorite one, which is
What's
not
that?
actually the Devil Monkeys of New Hampshire. No offense to them. I just think that's BS. But no, I think there's a monkey there, but I think
I do have your favorite one here. Print it out in front of me. Yeah. But you tell it.
All right, so these two people, they're girls, and one's goody-goody and one's not so goody-goody. And they're roommates and they're friends and they love each other, right? And they have, one of them gets, we'll call her Shauna, gets invited to a party, and their hot guy is like been flirting there, and he's like, come to this party, and she's like, yeah, but they have a big test the next day, right? So Carrie, the good girl, is like, oh no, we got to study for a test, we're gonna fail it, it's our midterm. And Shauna is like, no way, this party. And Carrie's like, no, like we're gonna fail, we have to study. And Shauna's like, I could get laid, we're going to the party. And Carrie's like, no, really, I'll take notes and I'll cram and you can cheat off me or something tomorrow, but I can't go to this party. And Shauna eventually gives up because Shauna needs to get laid and feels a little guilty about it, right? Right? So you would feel guilty about it, Shauna.
Oh, this is true to life story. I totally feel guilty.
So Shauna goes to the party, has a really great time, goes back to the dorm. It's past midnight. Doesn't want to wake Carrie up, so doesn't turn on the light, right? Goes into her bed, freaked out about her midterm, and finally falls asleep. But she goes and wakes up, right? And she goes to wake up Carrie because midterm, and Carrie's like lying on her stomach, like zoned out to the world, apparently. And she rolls Carrie over because she's like, you gotta wake up, you gotta wake up. And Shauna rolls Carrie over and sees Carrie's face, and it's like horrified and like frozen. And Shauna like is like, wait, what's going on? And turns on the lamp. And there is Carrie's study stuff all over the place, open. Her cliff notes have blood on it, and she's been slaughtered. And Shauna like collapses onto the floor, horrified, right? Her dead bestie is dead because she's their dead bestie. And like she's been sleeping in the same room, and oh my gosh, like if she had stayed, maybe she would have been safe. But then to make it even bigger, she looks up and sees on the bedroom mirror or the wall, I don't know, it depends sometimes, and it says, aren't you glad you didn't turn on the lights?
And you really found that one frightening at one point in time, didn't you?
Oh, it was terrifying. When I was in college, my best friend told me this story, and she's like, "It happened at Bucknell. It happened in Bucknell." And I'm like, "No, it didn't. No, it didn't. There would be no, it did not." And I thought it was the scariest story in the whole world. Honestly, I was positive. And then when I had the naked man show up in my bedroom one night, I kind of made sense, And Doug Marshall asked if the very important question, did Shauna get laid? And I would say yes. Knowing Shauna, she did get laid.
She probably took advantage of some poor drunk guy.
Her hot date. But was it worth it when she lost her best friend, Carrie?
It's not her responsibility. Carrie should have went out to the party.
No, Carrie was So the moral of that story is don't be good.
That's right. Don't stay home and study. Go party.
Horrible moral.
See, there's a moral to every urban legend. Some
exactly.
Are, don't park out on a deserted road and make out, and and the other one is go party, don't stay home and study.
But you'll notice that there's remember what I was talking about before? There's survival going on, right?
Yeah.
And there's also relationships. There's the relationships between the people making out, and there's the relationships between the roommates. And that's probably how we remember those stories, because we put ourselves in their place.
Some sort of relation, right?
Yeah. What?
Nothing.
You're just laughing.
I was laughing at Doug's comments. Cracked me up.
Oh, I know. That's the best part of being live.
I know.
Seeing Doug and Dee and John and their adorable comments.
Have you ever heard of Bloody Mary?
I don't like Bloody Mary either because I'm a wimp.
Why not?
Because who wants her to show up in your house just by saying it 3 times?
It's an urban legend.
I know it's scary.
She only shows up in the mirror if you go in the bathroom and turn off the light and say her name 3 times.
She can't come out of the mirror?
Well, I don't think so.
Oh, if she can't come out of the mirror, I'm fine with it.
I don't know.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about the Bloody Mary?
I think you just did. That's more like a teenage or a younger group party kind of urban legend where you tell it, and then you dare somebody to go into the bathroom and turn the light out and say her name 3 times.
Did you do that with John Bell?
Oh, geez,
in Florida when you were growing up?
I don't know. I doubt it.
Oh, man.
Because, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he and I went and saw the movie Candyman, which is exactly like Bloody Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Same exact premise as far as how to make him appear.
Yeah.
As far as I can remember.
But he must be able to get out of the mirror, right?
Oh, yeah, because he killed people for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I don't know. We weren't the kind of people to really be scared by that sort of stuff.
Ugh, show-offs.
Not that we didn't get scared about stupid stuff, but
it's interesting because there are sites like Snopes.com that their whole point, originally their whole point was to debunk urban legends. You know, they define it as a genre of folklore that comprises usually fictional narratives rooted in modern popular culture. And they update it all the time. And it's so funny to see how many urban legends there are that I didn't know existed. Like what? Well, there's some that are obvious, that kind of move into the land of conspiracy theories, like the moon landing wasn't real.
Oh, yeah.
JFK didn't really die.
Yeah.
Or he's a zombie now. I like it when the people are Elvis didn't really die. He's a zombie now too.
That'd be a horrible zombie. Fat Elvis.
Fat Elvis. But there's even ones about the founding of the United States of America. There's one that's all of the signers of the Declaration of Independence died tragic fates. But it's it was 300 years ago. They're all going to be dead. So of course it's tragic and blah, blah, blah. It's just weird stuff like that. Or
when I printed out this list of urban legends, there's a bunch
Oh,
that
you have a
are,
list?
yeah, but a lot of them aren't like negative entity type things,
Ooh.
and they are borderline conspiracy theories. Some of them,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, or just superstitious. How about that? Like the Curse of the Bambino for the Boston Red Sox.
That's very true.
They consider that to be an urban legend. You know what I mean? And really, it's crap, obviously. But
Do you know that they think that the Bloody Mary legend goes back to 1978? Like they've kind of pinpointed it.
they've tried to pinpoint a lot of these. I didn't know that one though.
But I don't think that's true because I think it happened before that, like in the early 1970s. Like if you think about when you were a kid, did you hear that legend when you were a kid?
No.
Ah.
No. Well, in the early 70s, I was a tiny kid, like 4, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So, but some people are like, is it Mary, the Queen of England? Is it like an avenging spirit, like whose real name was Mary Worthington or Mary Wales or Mary Johnson or Mary quite contrary? I just made that up. And they have all these different amounts of times. Like you said, I think 3 times in the mirror.
Yeah.
Because, who wants to say it more than that? But
right?
like there's other ones where it's 5 times, it's
Mhm.
13 times, and sometimes it's Hell Mary instead of Bloody Mary. And if you
Really?
say Hell Mary, you get to see Satan.
What?
Yeah.
Ooh. I'm going to take a break and go try that one real
No,
quick.
you're not. Not in our house. No, you're not.
Come on, baby.
So Dee said they used to say you could see her in 5th grade downstairs bathroom in her elementary school. See?
Bathrooms are a common theme with urban legends. There's a Japanese one called Hanako-san, and she's supposed to be in a school bathroom on the 3rd floor, and you have to knock 3 times on the 3rd stall to get her presence.
That's very, very detailed.
Yeah, I know. It is.
I like it. That's pretty cool.
There are a lot of Japanese urban legends in there.
Can you tell me another one?
Pretty brutal.
I like the brutal ones.
Well, there's Kuchisaki. The weird part about this is that I've heard all these from our youngest daughter when she was about 9 or 10.
She was really into urban legends.
Kuchisaki Ono, who was a mutilated woman, and I don't know how.
Okay.
But basically, she has what do you call it? There's a term for if you cut somebody from the edge of their mouth to their ears. It's called a something smile, and I can't remember what it is. But anyways, that's how she is. And she wears a mask over her face, and she walks around at night with a pair of scissors or a knife, and she asks people if they're beautiful, if she's beautiful.
Oh, that one.
And then they'll say, yeah, or whatever, and she'll pull her mask down, and she'll say, am I still beautiful? And if you falter, then she kills you.
Oh.
You have to maintain that.
Really?
There's another one. I can't remember her name. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it.
Do you want me to talk about the Bunny Man?
The Bunny Man?
Yeah.
Sure.
It sounds adorable.
No,
but the Bunny Man is not adorable. Allegedly, the Bunny Man was a dude, a man, a guy, that's the word man, from Virginia again. And he would dress up as a bunny and kill people with an axe.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that real?
Well, nothing's real if it's a legend, is it? I don't know. I hope it's not real. But they allegedly also named it a bridge after him. I don't know if they named it the Bunny Man Bridge, because that would be ridiculous. Like, why would you name it after a serial killer?
I actually did a little research into that one. That's why.
On the Bunny Man?
Yeah.
Was Bunny Man real?
There's the road that goes under the bridge. I can't remember the name. There was 2 incidents. One was, I think, maybe a post office delivery guy, the mailman, or somebody like that. Walked up to a house, and there was a guy in the porch, on his porch, in a bunny outfit, with an axe, and he was chopping away at one of the support, like the columns for the porch. And he said, "You're trespassing. And if you come any closer, I'm going to cut your head off with this axe." So he reported that to the police. And the second, these are real.
Was that real?
incidents.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Well,
the whole
supposedly,
Postman's Creed.
They were reported to the police as real. Yeah.
But the whole neither rain nor snow nor nothing will keep us from delivering.
With an axe.
Will keep us from delivering the mail. Turns out, Bunny Man with an axe on the porch will keep you from delivering the mail.
It'd keep me from delivering the mail for sure.
Yeah, me too.
And I can't remember the other incident, but it also involved a person and I think it was a hatchet. It was on that same road. It's the road I think goes under the Bunny Bridge or the Bunny Man Bridge.
What is up with that road? Well, I would not deliver mail there.
It's probably rural.
It's rural.
Urban legends always originate in the rural areas.
Oh man! All right. So first, John Bell said, "Remember the haunted house on Millionaire's Mile by the lighthouse?" And I don't know what that's about, Sean. Do you know what that's about? I don't remember the haunted house.
I know what Millionaire's Mile is, but I don't remember the haunted house.
John Bell has a better memory than you, man.
Probably. Yeah. I do remember that on Millionaire's Mile, we would drive down the street in the middle of the night and turn our headlights out because it was a super straight stretch.
That's illegal. Don't do that at home.
It's dangerous.
Or on the road.
But that was the fun of it. Anyways.
You do not endorse that behavior.
Slender Man.
Yes. First off, John also said, "We're too smart to believe in that urban legend nonsense. It's also very hard to scare us. We're usually the ones scaring others." I believe that, John Bell.
That's definitely true. We tried our hardest.
So naughty. We definitely wouldn't have been friends in high school, baby.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Doug Marshall said, "Slender Man. Do you know about Slender Man?"
We would have been. I do know about Slender Man, and that opens up a whole new genre of urban legends because it's internet based, and that's the genre. Creepypasta. Creepypasta is internet based horror stories, and they're all just they're basically user created stories, which any urban legend is user created, even if it was before the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to know about Slender Man?
Yeah, we're all waiting, boo.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, he's a fictional character that was originated as an internet meme created by Something Awful Forums user Victor Surge in 2009. It is depicted as resembling a thin, unnaturally tall man with a blank and not usually featureless face and wearing a black suit. He's pretty creepy looking.
Yeah. What are you reading from, babe?
My list.
I know, but where's the source?
Oh, I didn't send you my sources, did I?
No, but you need to say them on the podcast so we're not plagiarizing.
I don't know. It's Wikipedia. Just look up urban legends and click on the Wikipedia tab and you'll have it.
All right.
The Slender Man is commonly said to stalk, abduct, or traumatize people, particularly children.
Oh, what a jerk.
He's not tied to any particular story.
No?
Yeah. He's just an online, fictional, scary character. And there's a lot of them nowadays.
Really?
Yeah, and there's like a whole Slender family, actually.
Why?
Why? Oh, because people eat that up, you know?
Oh, man.
The psychology behind it is beyond me, but people love it.
So Doug wants us to Google the Bloody Benders, which is a true story, or at least it started off as true.
Yeah.
You want me to do that, then?
Go ahead.
Right. Wikipedia. Here is our source from which we are directly reading, and it's crowdsourced, kind of like an urban legend. So the Bloody Benders, also known as the Bender family, were a family of serial killers who lived and operated in Labette County, Kansas from May 1871 to December 1872. The family, that's a very short amount of time. The family consisted of John Bender and his wife Elvira, their son John Jr., and daughter Kate. While Bender mythology holds that John Jr. and Kate were siblings, contemporary newspapers reported that several of the Benders' neighbors had stated that they claimed to be married, possibly a common law marriage. And so there you go, already right in there, you know.
They're
We have
probably
like,
brother and sister.
but we already have like, wait, is this part true? Is this part true? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's interesting. So basically, in October 1870, 5 families of spiritualists homesteaded in and around the township of Osage in northwestern Labette. One of the families was the Benders, right? They had 160 acres of land and right through the only open road that you could get to the west, which was called the Great Osage Trail. I don't know how to say the Osage part. Maybe Osage.
So they had good pickings for victims, huh?
Yes.
And plenty of land to bury the bodies.
Right. So the men built a cabin and a barn and a well, and then in the fall of 1870, the ladies came, right? They made the house into 2 rooms with a canvas wagon cover separating the rooms. The smaller room was their living quarters, and the front room was a general store where like they sold stuff to the travelers, right? Very smart. Yeah, right. John Bender Sr. was around 60 years old. He didn't speak a lot of English, and it was very guttural, right? And his wife also allegedly spoke very little English, and she was 55 and so unfriendly that her neighbors called her a she-devil.
And they were trying to have a store, huh?
Yeah. And John Bender Jr. was around 25 and allegedly quite handsome with his auburn hair and his mustache. He spoke English fluently, but he had a German accent, and he would randomly laugh. So people thought he was a half-wit. That's the term. I think that's a rude term. And then Kate was also attractive, and she spoke English really, really well. And she said she was a healer and a psychic.
Who was that? The daughter?
The
Kate?
daughter/younger wife. We're not sure, right?
Oh, okay.
She had seances, she gave lectures, and she was like, free love, which back then was not a big deal thing, right? I mean, it was a big deal thing.
So I would think so, because
Yeah.
it's still kind of a big thing. And it sounds like a lot of our friends. But
Here's a direct quote. The old man was a repulsive, hideous brute without redeeming trait, dirty, profane, and ill-tempered. Old Mrs. Bender was a dirty old Dutch crone. Oh, that sounds a little like bigoted. Her face was a picture of a midnight hag that wove the spell murderous ambition about the soul of Macbeth. And then young Bender, seen when excited, recalled the grave robbing hyena at once to mind.
That must have been because of his laugh, huh?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Kate proclaimed herself responsible to no one save herself. So they were obviously not fitting in, right?
Apparently, they were a little bit off.
And so in May 1871, they found a guy. His last name is Jones. His head is crushed. His throat is cut, and he's in the creek, right?
Yeah.
They were like, oh, maybe the owner of the creek property did it, but who knows? But then in February of the next year, they found 2 more men with the same exact injuries, right? And by 1873, there were a ton of missing people reports.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And so then how did they get to the Benders?
Yeah, how did they?
I'm really not sure because I'm reading it as I go. So, apparently
I need a motive.
I'm still looking for the motive, man.
Just robbery?
All right. So, they had a big meeting in the township. Everybody's like, what the heck is happening? What the heck is happening? One guy, Colonel York, is like, I think it's those Benders. They're weird. And then 3 days after that meeting, this guy, Billy, he's like driving his cattle and he's going by the Benders' house. And they're like, they're not feeding their animals. What the heck is wrong with these people? And so then they smelled something, right?
Yeah.
And so they called Colonel York. They go in. The cabin is empty of food. There's no clothing there. All the personal possessions are gone. And then they are like, okay, where's this odor coming from? and they like find a trap door underneath the bed and it's nailed shut. So somebody is like, okay, I'll open it. Not me. And they open it up and there's an empty room, like 6 feet deep, 7 feet square, whatever, something like that. And there's clotted blood on the floor. And the stone floor was like a slab and it was broken up with hedgehammers. They broke it up and they couldn't find anybody. There was no bodies, but they decided the smell was just because there was so much blood that had soaked into the soil.
Possibly.
And so then they started looking all around the like cabin and they found Dr. York's body.
Colonel York?
No, Dr. York. Who I think is somebody different who went missing.
Okay.
Yeah, Dr. York went missing and Colonel York was his brother. Okay. My brother went missing. I went looking for him.
All right.
So he's like underneath the ground, barely below the surface, face down, and then they keep probing the ground with a metal rod, looking for like in the orchard and the vegetable garden, looking for people, and they found 9 more grave sites.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go. And all but one had their heads bashed in, according to Wikipedia.
So what happened to the benders?
Throats cut.
They got away?
I'm trying to read ahead. A vigilante. One story says that the vigilante group caught all of them and shot them all, but Kate, who they buried alive. Oh, I'm sorry, they burned alive. Another group said they caught all of them and lynched them, which is lovely. Another detective claimed that he traced the pair to the border, but John Jr. died, and the parents went to Kansas City and then Missouri. So I don't think we know for sure.
Definitely not.
What happened to the Benders?
If we have 3 different vigilante groups claiming they found them.
Yeah.
And other people claiming different. So
yeah. So that's the story of.
I'd say they're dead now, so we don't have to worry about them.
I hope they're dead now.
That was an exciting.
Can you imagine what they would look like if they?
That was an exciting family, though.
That's a messed up family, man.
Yeah, it is. If they were even a family.
If they were.
It could have just been like some weird sex cult or something.
Probably. I didn't know they had those back in 1870s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You're welcome, Doug.
You want to hear about them?
No. Wait. I want to hear more of the urban legends before we go, baby.
All right, well, another Japanese one is Tiki Tiki.
Oh, boy.
Tiki Tiki was a young woman or schoolgirl who fell on a railway line and basically got cut in half. You can imagine, like at the waist, in her torso.
That's so sad.
So she no longer has a lower extremity, so she basically drags herself around looking for her victims. And when she finds one, she cuts them in half with like a scythe or another type of weapon. I don't know why all these Japanese urban legends are so prevalent lately and so violent, but they are.
If she's like crawling around, how does she get high enough to like cut people with a?
Well, you know, a scythe has a handle that's like 6 or 8 feet long.
I know, but I'm just thinking about like you're down there low and you're trying to get I don't know.
Yeah.
You can't get your whole body weight behind it if you can't.
Not if you don't have a lower half.
Yeah. I
don't know. You're not supposed to pick the urban legends apart, I don't think.
Oh, fine. There's these researchers, Joseph Stubbersfield, Emma Flynn, and Jamshid Tehrani, wrote an article called Cognitive Evolution and the Transmission of Popular Narratives, a literature review and application to urban legends. And they basically said that humans are disposed to learn, remember, and transmit certain types of information more easily than others, and that any information passed between people will be subjected to cognitive selective pressures that alter the content and structure so to make it as transmittable as possible. Dude, I hear you shuffling the papers.
Can you?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
So?
Yeah. So it's just interesting. Like, what stories do we want to hear? Like, what stories do we want to pass down? Like, what is it?
It's the ones that you want to believe, right? I mean, that you want to allow yourself, maybe not even to believe, but just to believe, just to allow yourself a whisker of possibility that it could be true.
Yes, but
Right.
also those stories that have that survival aspect in it, like we said before, and
Right.
relationships too. Like, I bet there are Slender Man stories where there's a whole story, not just Slender Man, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
Well, all right. So
I could go upstairs and get the young girl, and she can tell us all about them. But I don't know.
probably. But like, all right. So if you think about Bigfoot things, I've been listening to this guy, and he tells all these Bigfoot stories that people email him in on his channel. He just stands in front of these big vistas and tells his story and goes on little rants about whatever the Matthew Moneymaker Bigfoot people are. I can't remember.
BRFO.
BRFO. Yeah. And like, he'll tell story after story after story. But the stories that I remember are either the really, really scary ones.
Yeah.
Or the ones that involve like a family and multiple people. If it's just like, hey, I was out hunting and I was in a pine grove and then I smelled something and the world stopped and then I saw a Bigfoot, like that doesn't stay with me.
Because it's just one person?
I think partially. But it also isn't quite as scary. But even if that person's with their dog and their dog reacts first, and then like their dog is scared and they're like running with their dog and they're worried that their dog's not going to make it or they're not going to make it, and how their dog will never go in the woods again, then I'll remember that story. Or like the one I just heard, that's always going to stay with me, which was just in the comments of a YouTube video, was about these guys somewhere in Scandinavia, and they were tenting. I told you this while you were falling asleep last night. I don't think you were awake.
No, I was awake.
Okay, so.
And I don't know that I was falling asleep, but we don't have to tell the truth.
You were just bored?
No, never mind. Go on.
Okay, so, all right, so these two guys, they're in this tent, right? One of the guys, I really don't get your joke, Shawnee. So okay, so don't tell me
because you said, can I tell you one more thing?
Over and over last night.
Your previous thing had been like a minute long, and then you lit into this like half-hour story.
I had horrible full body chills, and I was trying to distract myself from how bad I felt.
You really did.
It was really bad. Okay, so vaccine's still worth it, but it was really bad. So, anyways, the story is these two guys, they're tenting out in the wilderness, obviously, kind of near a tree line, and you're never supposed to tent near a tree line, according to the Bigfoot people, if you don't want to see Bigfoot.
Oh my
Anyways,
God.
So they're in this tent, right? And guy number one, we'll call him Sean, is a really chill guy. He's like John Bell, and nothing bothers him. He doesn't get scared of nothing. And like, he wakes his friend up. We'll call his friend Carrie. He wakes Carrie up, right? And he's like, and he's trembling like he has full body chills, right? And he's just like, don't move. And they're like sitting there, and he's like, what? And it smells terrible. It's like an indescribable smell. And Carrie's never seen Sean look like this, right? Ever. So she's freaking out inside and like totally still, because when the heck would Sean ever tell her to be terribly still? She's never seen him scared in her whole life. And then after about 15 minutes, one of them makes some kind of noise. And Carrie hears, hold on. And then like, oh, did you see my face when I did that? That was amazing. But like there's this huge rough noise and like this shrieky howling noise. And they hear somebody running away with like huge bipedal footprints. And Carrie is now like, oh my God. And Sean's like, I told you. And so it starts to get light out, and they go outside, and they're freaking out. And Carrie's like, Sean, tell me what happened. What the heck happened last night? Like, why did you wake up? And what was that? And Sean's like, I don't know what it was out there, but this is why I woke up. I was dead asleep, which sounds like Sean, honestly, dead asleep. And a hand reached into our tent through the fabric. So it's like moved the fabric of the tent and lifted up my head like it was trying to weigh it, like testing out the weight of my head in its hand. So scary. That's
would
so
definitely
scary.
wake me up and scare me. Yes.
I know.
Because that would mean it would have to unzip the door of the tent.
No, it didn't unzip it. It went. You know how like that's
under the bottom of the tent, you mean?
Yeah, like.
Oh yeah. That's just as bad, honestly.
So scary.
But I hate being in tents. I don't mind sleeping in a tent, but honestly it kind of freaks me out because you're in this little thing and there's absolutely no. That's like my biggest thing about being in a tent is seeing like this little pointy nail go blink and just rip it open like, you know what I mean? And then you're defenseless right there. You're laying in your sleeping bag naked, and what are you gonna
do? Naked.
Yeah.
Okay. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. Aaron Huck said monster stories with animals stick with them more too, and he's absolutely right because if the only way that story about the tent would have been scarier would be if there was a puppy in there too. Or a kitten. Well, and the puppy cried.
They probably would have gave you a little earlier warning, actually.
Yeah, hope so.
And then you could have thrown him out of the flap as a sacrificial offering.
No! Yeah. What is wrong with you? No.
Take my puppy, not me.
No, he's lying. He would never do that. He would throw me out first.
Not with our current dogs, no.
Oh. So mean. Anyways, do you have any other quick urban legends before we leave?
You know what?
Anything you want to say about urban legends and cognitive evolution, or?
Oh, man, what do I know about cognitive evolution? I'm the caveman of cognitive evolution.
No, you're not.
I am so.
No.
I'm practically Bigfoot.
You are. You are.
When it comes to cognitive evolution.
Someone in one of those Bigfoot comments things on the YouTube video, I went through a big drain because I was like feverish and so.
Oh my God.
Sick.
She was.
It was bad.
She was shaking so bad.
And I just
poor girl
went through the wormhole of Bigfoot videos. Anyways, and commentary. And one of them, it was really funny because it was like, yeah, my dad went out of the house and he's huge. He's like 6'6" and 275. And I'm like, it's Sean.
I don't weigh 275.
I don't know what you weigh.
Good Lord.
What do you weigh? You don't weigh 275?
No.
Okay. Anyway, their dad was 6'6" and 275. So I imagine like The Rock. And like they went out.
Could have been all muscle.
All muscle. And they went outside and just like was like, hey, leave my family alone. And they're like, and I guess the Bigfoots thought he was another Bigfoot because then nothing happened after that. And it was so funny.
Well, that's good because if the Bigfoots thought he was another Bigfoot and something did happen, that could have been bad for that guy.
I know. Can you imagine? And finally, Doug Marshall asked if Maine has ghost ships off our coast.
I've never heard of any.
I feel like Liz Graves would have known that, and she was here a little bit ago. I don't know if she's still.
She was here 10 minutes ago. She's probably still here.
I don't know. I think there was one in Casco Bay.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's a story about brain. I think it was a ship. And it was a schooner, of course, because those are scarier. And I don't remember. It had like a story behind it. Like they had a race and like this ship was the lead, but then this big winter storm happened and it went down.
Oh, yeah?
And I think on some of the ghost tours of Bar Harbor, there's ghost ships and ghost submarines off in Frenchman's Bay.
Really?
occasionally. Yeah. I think those are some of the urban legends of our town. Our town has its own urban legends, as any good town should. But Liz Graves, you should start
Yeah,
an
but
urban legend about a ghost ship.
the
You could do
submarine
that.
story is not an urban legend, is it?
Well, there really were submarines, but people say they still see the submarines.
Because they were German U-boats.
Yeah.
Weren't they?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Oh, wait. Sam found something. Sam, look, there's a giant leak.
Casco Bay. That's what you said.
Yay. Thank you, Sam. I like it when I'm not making things up out of my head. I feel so validated.
They're really coming from your head, baby.
No, they're not.
That immense memory you have is what I mean.
Oh, it needs to be better, honestly, because if it was better, I'd remember the Bar Harbor ghost ship thing, which I'm trying to look up, but no, we just don't have time. Maybe we can do the urban legends of Bar Harbor at some point. Just only our town.
Are there any other than that? Maybe
there's a ton of urban legends in our town.
Are there really?
Yeah.
Like what?
There's a million ghost stories.
Yeah.
There's the ghosts in Bar Harbor, and the ghosts in Leadlawn, and the ghosts of Glen Mary. There's the ghosts of Compass Harbor.
Ghost stories, though.
But they're urban legends. Like the stories behind the ghost story is the urban legend. Like there's.
I'm surprised we don't have one that's like involves a car and a pedestrian.
You probably should.
A bride, specifically.
Yeah, we don't have
a woman in white.
Yeah, man, there should be. There's women in white everywhere.
All the weddings that happen here.
Yeah. Is the woman in white considered an urban legend?
I would say it is, but it's the every town urban legend.
Yeah.
Every other town in the world or in the United States has a desolate road. See the woman in white on the side of the road story.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, Art has one about Leif Erikson's wife being buried at the head of the fjord. That would be cool. And some people think it's Somme Sound, which is on our island. That would be a cool one. And Aaron says, local ghost stories totally count as urban legends. It's like local mythology. Thank you, Aaron. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay. Validation.
I'll stamp your parking pass when we're done, honey. That'll validate you.
Babe, I don't have a parking pass. So, here's our little end spiel. Keep up with all things creepy and cool by following us at Dogs Are Smarter Than People or Loving the Stranger Carrie Jones Books on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr. We also have podcast notes and eventually some merch on my website, carriejonesbooks.blog, as well as a contact form to send us about your strange loves. We would love to hear about your strange loves. You can also join our member community on Patreon, which I don't remember the site.
I don't either.
Okay, but whatever, because we're bad at marketing. The end. But thank you for listening. And if you liked what you heard today, or even just found it amusing to make fun of us privately in your own home, share us with your friends so they can make fun of us too, because that's the best way for us to keep growing and having fun. And Sean really enjoys this. Look at him.
I actually do love it. I love it.
So
I wait
excited
for it all week long.
He's into it. So into it. He's like, what if Dee and Doug don't show up? Like, it's a big deal. What if John Ben doesn't show up? Bella doesn't show up? Like, it's makes him happy. So thank you
for making me very happy.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
You don't want to deal with a mopey, Sean.
It's a bitch.
It's terrible. No, bad language, bad language. Goodbye. Thank you.
Language. Thank you so much. Love you.
And if you have any ideas about what you want us to talk about, anything strange, we're cool with it.
Just send Carrie a message.
Or Sean.
Carrie.
Sean.
Carrie.
Sean.
Sean doesn't do his Facebook at all.
Yeah, but when you
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
He's such a pain.
I'm passing the buck.
Always.
Thank you for listening to Loving the Strange. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, embrace the strange. New episodes every Saturday, live streaming Fridays. Go get your strange on, friends. Thanks for listening.